Hello friends, I'm George, the nice medic gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys, I hope that all of you are doing well. Today I'm going to review two fragrances from Paris Corner and their Pendora scents line. The first one is called Noir and this one is cloning Montal's Arabian Tonka, and in the other hand I have Club Intense, which is a clone of Dior Homme Intense. The first one that I'm going to talk about will be Noir from Paris Corner. The fragrance comes packaged in this golden colored box with black accents. On the front you got the name of the fragrance, the name of the line, Pendora scents, the bottle size 100 milliliters, the concentration, which is EDP in this case. You got some Pendora scents branding on the top. On the back you got the sticker of authenticity of Paris Corner. On the bottom there's a production date stamped on, which is November of 2023. And once you take out the bottle, this is how the bottle looks. Now in this case it seems like they drew some inspirations from Mancera's fragrances when it comes to the bottle design, not Montal, although the owner of the two companies is the same guy. Again, this time a black colored box with golden accents. The cap is plastic, feels pretty cheap, but it's a snug fit, and all around the packaging is alright. The note breakdown of Noir from Paris Corner has the following notes. The top notes are saffron and bergamot, the middle notes are agar oud and Bulgarian rose, and the base notes are sugarcane, tonka bean, amber and white musk. I'll show you a sprayer of Noir in action and then I'll talk about the scent. But first a quick mention of the sprayer itself. The sprayer, as you can see, is very inconsistent, let's call it that. I remember the first time I tried this and unboxed it in front of the camera, it got me scared because it needed to be pressed like 7 or 8 times before actually putting any fragrance out. And so far in the past month or so that I've been having this fragrance, the sprayer has been a little bit disappointing, not working every time, but at least so far for the moment it still sprays some fragrance out, thankfully. And now, onto the scent of Noir As I said in the beginning of the video, this fragrance is inspired by or cloning Montal's Arabian Tonka, and if you are familiar with the original fragrance, you immediately recognize what Noir is trying to be. It opens up very spicy, at the same time a little bit fresh. The saffron note is very strong with this fragrance, just like with the original. This has quite a bit of freshness from that bergamot note in the opening, but it's very woodsy and very rosy in the opening. It doesn't have much sweetness in the first few minutes of the life of this fragrance. It's all about the woodsy note, the agar oud note that's mixed in with the rose and the saffron with a bit of citruses. When this fragrance goes into the dry down, this is where you're actually introduced to that signature sweetness of the original scent. That sugar cane note starts to become strong. There's a bit of vanilla sweetness as well in there, some ambery sweetness, a bit of a tonka bean powderness. All around the dry down becomes sweeter and sweeter the more time passes and the more this fragrance actually goes into its dry down. So all around, just to sum it up, the opening is fresh, spicy and woodsy with a nice amount of rose note in here, and the dry down is woodsy, very sweet, and you still get some of that rose somewhere in the background. All around it's a nicely blended fragrance that's actually pretty enjoyable to wear. When it comes to how close this fragrance is to the original one that it draws its inspiration from, I would say the opening is pretty similar to the original fragrance. If you are familiar with the original scent, you recognize this scent DNA, but the opening of Noir feels a little bit fresher, a little bit more airy compared to the original fragrance, lacks a bit of the sweetness of the original scent that you get right away with Arabians Tonka, and also this feels a little bit more rosy in the opening. On the dry down is where this becomes really close to the original fragrance because of the amount of sweetness that you're introduced on the dry down. Still though, this feels a little bit less sweet compared to the original fragrance, feels a little bit more airy, a little bit lighter, not as dense as the original scent, but especially on the dry down this is very similar and very recognizable of what scent DNA it actually carries. When it comes to performance, it's not a bad performing fragrance, I've been getting around about 7.5 up to 8 hours of performance out of it, which in my books is a very decent performance. And also projection wise, this will project for 1.5 hours, maybe up to 2 hours if you overspray a little bit. So performance wise, there are no issues with this fragrance. Price wise, I paid about 25 euros in that vicinity to get it, which costs a fraction of the price of the original fragrance, and because it's nicely blended and has pretty decent performance, I would say at that price point it's a good deal. And when it comes to versatility, this is a unisex fragrance, definitely just like the original scent, and can be worn pretty much all year round apart from the the warmest months of the year. And now moving on to the second fragrance that's featured in today's video, again from Paris Corner and Pendora scents, Club Intense Homme. This one being inspired by Dior Homme Intense, and the fragrance is not hiding what it's been getting its inspiration from, down to the actual bottle and the box design. The box looks like this, black colored box with silver accents, which is very similar to the original fragrance. On the front you got the name of the fragrance, the line of the fragrances, bottle size 100 milliliters, concentration EDP, on the top and on the back some additional branding and sticker of authenticity, and on the bottom there's a production date which reads again November 2023. And once you take out the actual bottle, this is how the bottle looks, again pretty similar to the original fragrance, although this one looks a little bit more squarish, unlike the more slim design of the original scent. Cap is plastic, it's a snug fit, and all around the quality again is decent. The note breakdown of Club Intense Homme from Pendora scents has the following notes. The top note is lavender, the middle notes are iris, ambrette and pear, and the base notes are Virginia, cedar and vetiver. Now there are a few very important notes that are missing from this note breakdown, but I'll tell you those in a second. Let's check out the sprayer in action and then I'll tell you about the scent of this fragrance. The sprayer is good, has a decent distribution. And now onto the scent of Club Intense Homme. As I said, it's a clone of Dior Homme Intense, and as soon as you spray this one, if you're familiar with the original fragrance, you'll immediately recognize what this is cloning. The opening is slightly aromatic because of the lavender note. It's quite sweet because there's a hint of vanilla. You get the pure sweetness. Right away you also get that sweetness and powderness from the iris note that is signature for the original Dior Homme Intense. There's a hint of musk. And one thing I pick up out of this fragrance that's not included into the dry down is a very strong violet note, violet leaf note. That adds a bit of a floral touch. The original one has such a note, and this fragrance also has it, but here it's stronger compared to the original. When this starts to dry down, you lose some of that aromatic properties of the lavender. The dry down is sweet because of the vanilla, the pear. There's also a cacao note which is quite strong, and it's not included again into the note breakdown. You get that strong lipsticky irisy note on the dry down. It becomes a little bit woodsy and a little bit musky, just like the original scent. All around this is very similar to the original fragrance. It's quite enjoyable, and again pretty surprisingly how good quality the scent actually has, considering the price point of this fragrance. And I've been enjoying Club Intense Homme from Pendora scents. When it comes to how close this fragrance is to the original scent that it is cloning, very similar. Again, you immediately recognize the original scent that this has been inspired by, but there are a few minor differences. In the opening this feels a little bit more aromatic because I think it has a slightly stronger lavender note, feels a little bit more airy in the air, lacks a bit of the thickness again, and sort of the strength of the original fragrance, which is to be expected. And also this carries a stronger floral vibe because of the strong violet note that I pick up out of this one. And then on the dry down it leans a little bit more to the chocolatey side compared to the original fragrance. Still though pretty similar, and in the air very similar to the original fragrance. When it comes to the performance, it's a decent performer. I've been getting about 7 hours of performance out of this one. The area where this lacks a little bit is the projection. It will project for about hour, maybe up to hour and a half, but it's the projection is more on the lighter side. So performance wise, it's a decent performer, nothing spectacular. Price wise, I paid about 22-23 euros, which again makes it a very cheap alternative to what's now a very expensive original scent. And when it comes to versatility, this is a masculine fragrance that some people find to be very unisex. It's a dressed up type of scent, and definitely this is more orientated toward the colder months of the year, just like with the original fragrance. And at the end, a few final words about Noir d'Arabie and Club Intense Homme, both from Paris Corner and Pendora scents. Noir d'Arabie actually turned out to be a very sort of a good alternative to Montal's Arabian Tonka. Quality here is good, performance is good, feels a little bit fresher, a little bit lighter and less sweet compared to the original scent, but still a very good alternative for a fraction of the price of the original. Comes nicely packaged. Again, all around I think this is a pretty decent, actually surprisingly good alternative for something like Arabians Tonka. And then when it comes to Club Intense Homme, this again is a very interesting and nice clone slash alternative for something like Dior Homme Intense. Carries a very similar vibe, although this feels a little bit more floral. On the dry down feels a little bit more chocolatey compared to the original fragrance, has a stronger cacao note, but still unmistakably carries the DNA of Dior Homme Intense, and again costs a fraction of the price and also has pretty decent quality. The only problem with this fragrance is the sort of a lack of performance, not so much about longevity, more about the projection. In my experience, this, performance wise, this is pretty much on par with Dark Door Intense from Maison Alhambra. Maybe this is a little bit of a better performer compared to that scent, but all around it's actually an enjoyable fragrance. And if you cannot get your hands on any other of the major Dior Homme Intense clones, then the Club Intense Homme from Paris Corner can be a good alternative for those of you guys who are looking for a Dior Homme Intense clone. Both of them actually at the end of the day will get a like from me. And so guys, in today's video I did my review of two fragrances from Paris Corner, Club Intense Homme and Noir d'Arabie. I hope that you found this video helpful or interesting. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you are going to join me in the next one. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.